everybody here today at the training center. Thanks to the police department for allowing us to be here. If you want to speak to the Board of Works, please go to the lectern. You do not need to move the mic. In fact, I highly recommend you leave the mic right there as you speak to the board. As you speak to the board. Board members, you do not need to move your mics either. If you speak in a normal tone, it'll come out. There's a small echo, but we're doing the best we can. And remember, speaking into the mics, it's so important because it's allowing the video to pick up, okay? The streaming. And it does look like it's working. George and Diane are here. Appreciating everybody's patience. You all rise. I'll call this Board of Works meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Starting on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the January meeting.
I looked those over. Did you see anything? Jeff, all right. I'll make a motion we accept the minutes from the last meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion will approve along with a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. I want to welcome everybody that's here today. Welcome to the Warsaw Police Department Training Center. And Chief, I see you here. Thank you for all your help with this. There are no reports, oral or written. There is no unfinished business. That will take us to new business. We have a street closure request from Farmers Market. I believe we have a representative here. Lucy, you want to come up and formally make your request. We have your documents that you've presented to the board. Thanks, Lisa.
Good morning. I want to thank you for last year letting us open up the streets. We had a very successful year. We're asking to open up early this year, April 18th, instead of the first week in May. We also are going to stay uptown through October, the end of October, the 31st. We would also request to open up Buffalo Street again. We have what we're calling Cars and Coffee. It was a big success last year with the businesses there along Buffalo. We also have more vendors this year than what we had last year, and we will probably not close down Buffalo Street if we don't have at least 5 vendors or 6 vendors plus the cars. The cars are taking up at least half of the street on Buffalo, so if we get at least 5 to 10 vendors on Buffalo, that will fill the street. The businesses are okay with that. It helped them last year, along with, we had some extra business from the Cars and Coffee. That's basically all, I think.
So I want to thank you for late last year, sitting down with my office, Main Street, the Chamber, and then also working with this spring. I do believe Chamber is here. Rob, any comments on your efforts along with Main Street and working with my office about the farmers market and their request? Thanks.
Yeah, so Rob Parker with Main Street Warsaw, the Chamber, of course, and it's just been a pleasure to work with Lisa on the farmers market, and it really is part of the vision that we have for Warsaw, the 2030 plan, plus the cultural arts. You know, making sure that there's activities in the downtown, drawing people to our downtown to increase foot traffic, to hopefully, you know, really make it a vibrant and lively place for our community. That's what a downtown should be. And Lisa does a great job in her team of doing it, you know, bringing people to downtown. And so anyway, we're fully supportive of that, but I'm open for any questions.
Board members, you have the documents like we normally get. You can see the map there. Any questions for Lisa?
talked to, I haven't heard that. Lisa?
No, I've talked to Mail Fashions, and I've talked to Cindy Dobbins and Maggie's Coffee, and they've had no problems. And then along with the art gallery that is there and the 2 restaurants, they have said they're committed to helping us any way they can.
Okay, and Cindy's not here today, but she did text me that it has been an issue for her business, so I'm not sure, but this is not probably the place to.
And we can talk offline, but I have not had that direct feedback from her personally.
Yeah, and then the other comment that council members have got, this came out during our strategic planning session, was just people being frustrated with it being closed every single Saturday for that many Saturdays in a row. This residents trying to get through downtown, and then especially right now with the construction with the Lake City Bank, that really leaves no north-south main roads where I could see a visitor to town getting stuck downtown, not knowing how to get out of there if we start in April. And I don't know if we have any updated timeline as to when Indiana Street will be open again, but if we also close Market Street and before that project is finished, then that's a concern that came up with the council, for safety reasons and just for wanting to attract people to downtown if they get stuck in the loop.
And they're gonna stay there, and that's awesome.
Well, or they may never come back to downtown Warsaw.
Certainly, construction's a concern. You said closed market, did I miss something on?
Or, I meant Buffalo, like between Buffalo and Market.
Yeah.
So trying to
Between
get
Center.
over to Market Street for someone who's not familiar with Warsaw,
Sure.
was a concern if we start in April. I don't know if there could be a compromise, to only closing Center until that construction is finished. And I know we wouldn't have a good timeline for that. Whether, City Hall parking lot could be used again like it was for a while in the past. So we had a lot of the artisans in the parking lot at City Hall, and then we moved them down Buffalo Street. It just seems like there's maybe still some things to be worked out. And then the other issue that came up at the council meeting was the Freedom Fest parade on June 6th. And I know you've talked with Mike Lauer,
I have.
and I know that Lisa has, and you guys haven't been able to reach a good compromise yet on that.
I haven't seen the details on what that looks like or where the plan is, so.
So we have a representative.
So we'll need to have that conversation. You wanna have it now, or?
Well, if we approve a blanket request like this, then we're guaranteeing them that they have these spaces. And if we're looking ahead and saying, no, that's not going to work, I don't wanna do that to you.
So if we, my opinion is if we have a big event on June 6th and it's the Freedom Fest and we have the parade that's going the route, we're gonna have to come up with an alternative solution. Because that's a pretty big deal. But we're gonna have to come up with something.
This is not your typical road closure
Yeah.
request. Usually it's for a couple hours on Saturday in May or something like that. We've done them in the past. This is for months, and, I'm hearing a lot of flack from, we have 40-some years of city council experience, us three. Now, I've not talked, Diane and I, because we constitute a quorum, could not talk about this, so I didn't know what she was gonna say today, but I've heard it from the others, and, they are urging us to at least stop and think about this and table it. And, because I have heard from business people, and like I say, we have a great amount of respect for how city council feels about things like this, and they're hearing it from people, from other business people. I believe it. They probably, don't say it to you, but they're saying it to us. And Mike Lord tried to call me last night. I was out to dinner and couldn't take it, but I'll bet he was probably ramped up about it. But that's one person. But anyway, so I'm.
To my knowledge, I believe there's not a hard date, Dustin, but I think Lake City Bank, early July is when they do believe that they'll be done in
lot to our community, like you said. I think that the artisans have grown, and when I go down now in the winter one, it's mostly artisans at this point that are there. And I think they would like to continue to have a presence, and so, and even looking at, you know, what do we consider downtown, how far does that extend, you know, those kinds of things where we might find a good place that is not so disruptive to traffic coming through Warsaw, or to businesses, or to you guys, because I don't wanna see you moving. You know, well, we're here for 2 weeks, and then we have to move here because this, and then we have, and we know that stuff is gonna go on. We know we've got that construction going on in Indiana, and to me, that's a big barrier to closing Buffalo.
You have construction on Indiana, and then I was also going to tell you, again, finishing in July, the 250 anniversary celebration parade. I did talk to Mike weeks and weeks ago, and I sent him toward the police department. And Chief, you're here. Has any formal parade request been presented to the
Not to my
police?
knowledge, Captain Dean would be the one to answer that.
I think he's talked to him, but I don't think there's any definitive form like that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe.
And that's the information I was thinking,
Yeah,
well,
I-
I talked to them, we probably Captain Dean.
I think the farmer's market and that whole thing was kind of where he left it.
Yeah, because I talked to Mike, I mean, it was weeks ago, and they said, you need to go to the PD, you need to formalize it, because we've been working now all spring with Farmers Market and Main Street to get this together, and again, to my knowledge, he's not done that, so that's
Right.
another issue, but.
I do recall Captain Dean saying he was waiting for him to return his phone call
Okay.
after he was going to touch base with farmers market.
So the other thing would be, we could table it and then maybe come back together and work, but there's just so many stakeholders that'll be influenced by it, and probably one of the first you would mention would be Farmers Market, that's been there and been doing this, and everything's led up to it. Main Street, their 2030 plan, that's gonna go against the grain, which we have looked at as, the city, and, I'd like to think we've looked their direction. I'll even say publicly supported it, and so, and then where would they go? And who would be willing to host or be prepared to host? So there is a lot that needs to be done, and, I don't think the strategic plan session was very productive. I know that, Diane, you were there. I said it was very productive. And we have 2 other council members that were here, but we didn't, that was sort of, it's strategic planning. It isn't formally saying, here's what we want, here's what we believe is best. So related to what you're saying, I would hope too that during these sessions over the next several months, that we would work through that. What do we want the downtown to look like? What does it look like now? And then what do we want it to look like in the future? So.
Yeah, and I understand that, could possibly be a year off to look at, but I just see some problems with this year right now, this particular request. So I think we need to figure it out.
Okay, we could easily put a caveat in there for the 6th, if that's the only date that you see as
I think that's the definite date that I see as an issue, and then,
and then maybe not closing Buffalo until a little bit later in the spring.
yeah, but I wanna figure out where those people are gonna go then.
Well, I think we can, early on, I don't know that you get a lot of your vendors coming in early.
Well, I know Center Street is full now,
Yes.
so, and we don't stop taking applications until the end of March. But, yeah, I can't tell you how many we'll have exactly.
I mean, I'm okay approving for this year's Center Street with the caveat of the June 6th. But not saying then that, like I had talked to you at one point, what if we just moved it around the corner onto Buffalo and Market for that?
Well, we made for that June 6th, move the vendors from Center Street onto Buffalo, and then the Cars and Coffee was going to see if we could put them
And I don't like all the ideas of all the southbound main streets being closed.
So,
So
Like
southbound on Indiana,
Indiana, Buffalo.
you can't go south on 2 blocks. So in Indiana and Buffalo would be blocked.
And
In that
basically,
same
the way
section.
our town is set up, they would have to know that, you know, there's a street there before, and they know how to figure out how to get over to Lake Street and where they would end up. And, you know, we want to draw people into the community, not make it an impact.
well, whether Joe likes it or not, there's snow on the ground, and we have time, it's February, so, you know, we can, again, go back to the drawing board, and I see 2 councilmen, I hear Jurgen back there talking. Do you guys have any comments related to this? I know you guys were both at the strategic plan, nothing formally has been voted on by the council. But do you have any comments? You've heard the discussion here, and that you'd like to make. If you do, come up that way. It'll pick up. Thanks, Jurgen. You can leave it right there, Jurgen. Right there. Yeah, I'll tell you, it'll pick you up. Thank you.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but the discussion came up because there are a lot of issues. Many of the merchants have come to us, I know they say, oh, it's all good, but behind the scenes, they're coming to us and saying, this is kind of bad, our people have to park 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away, they're just not coming, and we're losing a lot of business. Now, some of them are gaining business, we grant you that. The other issue is just the traffic. I know going to work on Lake Street, I have had to sit sometimes for 5 traffic lights just to get through. That's a huge inconvenience. If you wanna go south on 15 and you're coming down Center Street, you literally have to go around 6 blocks and turn 4 times. The problem is the traffic is backed up so bad that it could take you an extra 5 or 10 minutes to do that. Another concern I personally have, there was just an accident in California where someone got upset. They were going down the street at a farmer's market and they ran through it, and I think they killed 8 people and injured 15. That's happening, maybe England had it, so all I'm saying is, who's gonna stop a car from going down Center Street and wiping out every one of those booths, or a truck that loses brakes? Center Street is our main thoroughfare. Buffalo Street is also a main artery. We're blocking both of those. On a busy Saturday when people are off work and want to shop or just get through town. The biggest issue I've had, and my customers have had, and they've complained about it for years, but I figured farmers market's a great thing, but maybe we don't need it right downtown. When you're coming west on Center Street, if you pass Indiana Street, you have to go north. You can't turn south for 2 blocks, so you are stuck. I think, George, you mentioned that. That's a big issue. But anyway, all I'm saying is I think it would be, in my opinion, be a good idea to table it. Let's look at it and see if we can find some alternatives that will satisfy everybody. And I think there are some alternatives that would be maybe a little bit better. So that's the only thing I'd say.
Thanks, Jurgen. Mike, any comments, or?
Not today, Mayor, thank you.
Okay.
I think public safety is a big concern, and I think that's one of the reasons why we needed a festival street. So I'm in agreement, we need to think about that. So,
Yeah, back to the strategic planning, meeting again, it was so productive and I appreciated it. I was sort of, taken aback with the comments in February connected to it because of everything we've done. I haven't received any calls or concerns, my office hasn't. And so, yeah, I just seeking, I guess, Diane, George, what would you like to do as members of the Board of Works, so.
Well, if we table it, it's not for a month, it's for 2 weeks, technically, we could maybe, especially if things get talked about and worked on it. It's early, so yeah, I'd probably be receptive to tabling it for now, obviously. Just based on the discussion
fairground, we have some time, but if there is going to be another location, my concern is where that would be, and then the time to make sure we get all of that straightened out and approved, and back to farmer's market, is that something that they would want, so.
And we do have some time, but in respect for Lisa also, she's taking applications and she needs to know, how many people she can accept as well, so I kind of like that idea
I
of
just don't want
pushing it to this
to make a fool of myself.
timeframe where we can really work on it, dig into it.
it down to 2.
And I know the chamber's looking at something like a festival street, and just because of all of the circumstances aligning this year with the America 250 and the road closures and all of that, we may be pushing that sooner rather than later. And it doesn't mean that we couldn't start off one way and then change it to next year, but I do think we need to make some kind of commitment for a year. I think that's only right for you, for our citizens, so when they wanna go to the farmer's market, they know where in the world it is. And then, we go that direction, but it will mean, some tough work in the next couple weeks, but.
Right.
Robert, Lisa, do you know how many people the farmer's market brings downtown on a Saturday?
Lisa, how many customers do you have on average?
On average, on a Saturday, maybe 150.
That come directly to her booth?
Now, I can't guarantee that they're gonna walk through, but yes, we are extremely busy. And it starts the first Saturday until the end. Whatever Saturday we end up being. And when we have to move to the Pete Thorne building, it does drop off, but, yeah, and we get lost. We do. After we go from downtown, nobody knows where we are. No matter how much we post using social media, it would be nice to have a place where we could go inside and just be there week after week.
Do you have a estimation of how many of those vendors are from our community?
Most of them.
Most of them are the
Yes.
vendors in the,
We do have a few vendors from like LaGrange or from Marshall County, but most of them are here at Kosciuszko.
The good thing is historically, we've always supported the downtown. That's been talked about by everybody. We historically support farmers market, we still do. Change is good, or reevaluating things is fine, but again, there's just been a lot of momentum getting to this point. But here we are, we can always work through it, that's the process. It looks like, Mike, you didn't want to say anything, but now, do you want to say something?
I can.
Yeah.
I've been encouraged by folks in this room and folks not in this room. This is an issue that has been on the table in my mind for a number of years. I had discussions with the previous mayor. We were in disagreement. I support a local farmer's market. I've been to many farmers markets in other communities. As a representative of my constituents living in the city limits, some of whom are merchants, I get an earful. Most of the vendors at the current farmer's market, I think, do not live in the city, so they're coming from outside of the city, yet the city is carrying the burden and the cost of hosting the farmer's market. We pay city employees to bring signs downtown every Friday, haul them back, that's expensive. There's infrastructure that needs to take place on a weekly basis, and now they're asking for 7 months. 7 months. I I don't know that, we used to go to the farmer's market quite often, but it's pretty much, in my opinion, turned into a craft market. You used to be able to go down there and buy locally grown anything from asparagus to zucchinis, and now, I haven't seen that for a long time, number of years. Cindy couldn't be here, she texted me, wanted me to come, she would like to see a change. Every council person that I have spoken with wants to see a change. When Mayor Plank initiated the Center Lake Central Park project, part of the impetus behind that was to have a place for a local farmer's market, and as such, there was a carve out for parking. There's a building with overhead protection from the rain. There's, it's a beautiful park. Park needs to be used, and that's one use. People would know where the farmer's market is. The current location creates congestion every Saturday, as we all know. And I know there's been a lot of behind the scenes work this year, but that is not this is not a this year problem. This has been going on and on and on. And in my own capacity as a councilman, I've tried to steer administrations to moving that farmer's market. I did not know there were discussions going on behind the scenes, or I would have been there to participate and express my opinion. In short, I feel the council would like to see a change, a permanent change. And whatever it takes to do that, I think we would probably support. We want a farmer's market, we just want it in a different place and free up the downtown on Saturdays. Thank you.
Any further comments, Lisa or Rob? No?
Yeah.
Anybody else like any comments? Been very successful strategic planning, and again, I'll apologize to the council members, and Diane, who's a member of the Board of Works. I didn't know anything that there were these concerns are this strong until strategic plan. And again, I'll just state that I haven't, and boy, oh boy, I encourage people to come to my office and tell me if they are having a problem, or they would like a change. And so I just apologize, it's just time of year during this public meeting. And so I'll look to my fellow members of the Board of Works for direction.
So George, what would you think about, since it's February 28 days, tabling it until the March 6th meeting? So that way we actually put a date on when we will make a decision. Because otherwise I could see this getting drug out, because there's a lot of moving parts.
And it
So
can't be, I don't think.
make a decision for this year, I think, and then it's gonna take more strategic planning to
Yeah.
look, into the future.
I agree with you. I think in fairness to the farmer's market, to Main Street, and also to the Common Council, we as a Board of Works need to act on this very quickly, because of the long history that's happened in the past. And again, this is basically the same request that we had a year ago. So
I think we did settle one important thing, which is Lisa's willingness to vacate Center Street on June 6th, and we work out something in Rockland.
I understand, we would, do whatever is necessary to make that happen.
So I think
And that's
that is
a massive event. And again, if that committee presents a formal request, again, and I do apologize, I did talk to them weeks and weeks ago, and I said that needed to be done, and they have not. And so, but that kind of stuff we need to work through. I'm back to, though, we need to do it very quickly. Snow's on the ground, like I said, but we could have an impact on a lot of stakeholders if we don't, as a Board of Works,
right.
take action.
And And just two quick things, I know last year we had a couple of conflicts on dates where people were in the downtown and using the streets that congested it even more, so we've settled on a policy that will prohibit that from happening in the future, number one. And number two, one of the events that always happens in downtown won't take place this year, so that will eliminate the closure of Buffalo Street between Center and Main. So that won't be closed for the Kettleheads this year. That won't happen. So again, we're only talking for the farmer's market. And anything else that comes up we'd make sure that won't happen, because we, again, don't want to close the downtown. People do need to get through it, but we also would love for people to walk and experience the downtown. I think the farmer market does a great job of that in the downtown, so I appreciate your concern, and yes, we need to come with a decision quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I'd really like that. I think the council members, obviously, two here today. Cindy was mentioned. Cindy's on the Main Street Board. And again, I have not, so I do appreciate that comment. We do need to, which is our responsibility, time to table, but it's gonna be work, go time over the next couple of weeks. I just think in fairness to everybody. If you decide to table, okay.
That we table this request until March 6th of 2026.
Motion to table the request. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Really appreciate everybody coming. And again, this is the process, so thank you for that. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed, nay? Nay. Okay, 2-1, it is tabled. Very good. Thank you very much.
And thanks to the people who came, so that we got it all
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, really good.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Next item, Denny, thanks for your patience. It looks like you got quite a few travel requests.
Yeah, we've got a handful of travel requests. One for the mayor, for the 8 legislative dinner, which is always a good place for him to be at. I've seen him in action. He does a good job.
Thanks, Denny.
One for wastewater, for our assistant superintendent to go to the wet show. 4 for our street department leadership to go down to the Purdue Road School. 1 for Max Kinsey in the fire department for Inspector 1 class. And then for our clerk and deputy clerk to go to the Clerk Institute and Academy. We also had a walk-in. I gave you guys each a sheet of paper for the police department for the IDEA conference. That needed to be walked in because it happens before the next meeting. So that's for Ryan Moore, Lieutenant Moore.
I just have one question for Joel. So I noticed that the Inspector 1 is here in Warsaw. Are we conducting that training or hosting it, or?
I don't think so. It is not in Warsaw, it is in Plainfield.
Okay, so there may be a mistake on here.
It could have been mistyped.
It says class is in Plainfield on mine.
Mine says location Warsaw.
On the overall spreadsheet, it says Warsaw.
Yeah, that's,
On the actual request, it says Plainfield.
I see what you're saying.
The Ryan Moore WPD is on mine. I don't think it has to be a walk-in, it was on mine. Work that.
I know it was turned in after the deadline, so I wasn't sure how
I'm just saying.
Whitney was able to get it on there. I was asking, make the walk-ins.
It's covered, so that's good. That's good, make sure, so. Do you have any other questions about these?
No, I guess we just need to, approve it with that change or amends, or how do we do
yeah,
that?
I believe that, that would be a good form to do that instead of Warsaw, Indiana, which is on the form and it's also on the list of travel requests. We should change that to Plainfield. It should be amended.
Sorry. So do I need to amend it first?
I would recommend,
And then vote on it?
I would recommend you move to amend
Warsaw, because up above it says purpose of travel, classes in Plainfield. That would just cross out Warsaw there where it says destination and put Plainfield, Indiana, and
So I can, as presiding officer, I can also say I'm seeking unanimous consent for that to be done. Any objections?
No.
No objections, okay, so we'll put Plainfield in there, so no objections. That is now in there, thanks for that. Anything else that, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Good. Thanks, Diane.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve then the travel requests.
And I'll second that.
A motion to approve all of the travel requests along with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Guys have it. Thanks, Denny.
Yes, sir.
What else do you have here?
All right, we got the new hire change in payroll report, two from the street department for merit increases. A couple mechanics that have done an absolutely outstanding job for us. We have one new firefighter coming to town as a lateral transfer. He's currently a firefighter down in the Barbersville area. Originally from Warsaw, wanted to come home. So we're happy to bring Dylan Childers back to Warsaw as a full-time firefighter. Two more for the fire department promotions. Brent Pfeiffer to captain and Kyle Martin to lieutenant. So we're happy to be able to move those fellows up the ranks. And then we're adding the traffic commission administrative assistant stipend to Tabitha Langford. As she'll be taking care of the traffic commission board.
Sounds good.
I'll make a motion that we approve this new hire change in payroll report.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve along with the second. Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thanks, Denny. It looks like you have one more item.
Yes, sir. At last meeting, we approved the first of our Work One host site agreements. This is the second one that I mentioned to you guys there. I know that the city attorney mentioned to me that it says 25 hours per week there at the top, where it should be a max of 20 hours per week. The big thing for Work One is that the 200 hours is the max. So I think somewhere else down inside here, it says no more than 20 hours per week, so that would have been a misprint under that section there too, that we need to correct.
I see under F1.
It is, it's F1, it is 20.
Yeah.
Catch there. So we need to correct that.
Yeah, with all this, I'll go through that.
So F1 is correct.
Correct.
A maximum of 20. We'll just agree to change in paragraph 2 where it says Jackson Stratton, his hours per week would be a maximum of 20 hours per week.
Yeah,
I agree.
So seeking unanimous consent, as presiding officer, no objections to that, you agree with that? Okay, good. So that'll take us back to the request. Thanks, Denny. Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's a great program. I'll move to approve the request for the host site agreement.
And I'll second that.
Motion to approve along with the second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denny. Staff, good morning.
Good morning. I have a request here for your approval to apply for the Indiana Arts Commission fiscal year 27 Spring Arts Project Support Grant in the amount of $4,000. If awarded, these funds would be used to continue support of the city's summer concert series.
This will be next.
Yes, the funds will start in July and go through the end of June of next year.
I'll make a motion that we approve this request to apply for the Indiana Arts Commission Spring Arts Project Support Grant.
Second.
Motion by Diane along with a second to accept. Any further comments?
No, just thank you for allowing me to apply.
Thanks. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Morning, Justin. What are we looking at here? Looks like Jomac project.
Yeah, good morning. So we're making progress over at Jomac, really excited to get that project completed. This is the first payout from our asbestos removal contract with environmental management specialists, and it's for the full contracted amount of $100,305. Just as a reminder, this is not city funds, these are grant funds that we received from Okra. So upon your approval of this request, we will submit that payout to our grant management up at MACOG, and then they will request that payment. Payment will then be submitted to the city, and we will disperse that payment to the contractor. So that is the typical process with these reimbursement, or these grants. So just ask for your approval on that. If there are any questions.
And it's a one and done payment, just an FYI.
For this contract, or this phase of the project.
And you've inspected and the work's done.
Yeah, so I didn't walk through, but we do have because I wouldn't know if all the asbestos was removed, but we do have a manifest that shows that 8 cubic yards of asbestos was removed and disposed of. They also have submitted a certificate of verification for visual inspection. So we are confident in in the documentation they provided us that the work has been completed.
Thanks, Justin. Any other questions? No, having heard that, I'll make a motion that we approve the payment application for the asbestos removal.
I'll second that.
Motion by George, one with a second. Any further comments, Justin? No. Good, thank you. Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Thanks. Public Works. Dustin, good to see you. What are we looking at here?
Alright, just for the benefit of the city renderings, before you have an on-call civil engineering agreement with Engineering Resources, Inc., to provide assistance and expertise with civil engineering needs as they arise. As many of you well know, our previous city engineer, Mr. Ott, is now associate at ERI, but still obviously has a vast knowledge of the ongoing local projects within our city. The agreement is based on an hourly rate of $178 an hour, and a not to exceed amount of $20,000. This service will be cross-utilized between community economic development, building and planning, street as well as wastewater departments primarily, with the ability to be used by any other department as needed. This will help ensure the civil engineering needs can still be met with continuity and insight of all our currently ongoing projects within the city.
Thank you, Dustin. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, either you or Scott, can you talk to me about the termination agreement for this? It looks like if we wanted to terminate, we needed to have cause. Is it both parties need to have cause to terminate? Like if we go forward and make a decision about hiring someone, for instance, and I don't know that we are going to do that, how do we get out of this agreement?
Well, I'll surely go ahead, Scott.
As I see it, this is as requested. An agreement is based on an hourly rate not to exceed $20,000. So from our perspective, if we think we don't want to employ someone to do additional hours of work, we just don't do it. So that when I saw the termination for cause, we're not terminating anybody. We may just not choose for somebody to do some items of work. We may choose someone else to do some items of work. So I don't think a termination for cause, it doesn't concern me to be in this contract because we can pick and choose who we want to do different projects for this town. This is just one vendor that we have entered into an agreement with, and we may choose to have that vendor work on projects, or we may choose to not have vendors work on a project, or we may choose for them to not work more on the project. So I wasn't concerned about that part of the contract. If that helps answer your question. No, I didn't have other concerns with that. I think it's a good thing for transition that Aaron has a lot of knowledge about And it's always a tough thing, you know, when Mr. Emons retired or lessened his workload and opened his own deal. It was good to have him be able to consult with us, and I think this is probably a good thing for us to have an agreement with this company in particular, because Mr. Ott had a lot of knowledge about current projects that I think is really useful going forward. I think Dustin probably wants to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the continuity and the common eyes that have been looking at a project is still ongoing, that is familiar with the project in order to chime in and give us those advice. We still have an on-call agreement that is active with Emmons Engineering, if you remember Diane, Brian, and that's one with Wessler Engineering. So very common, item in my opinion. I've met with Jeremy, with Justin, with Joe, with Brian, all of us kind of collaboratively, thought that this would be a good thing moving forward, just to make sure that, if those questions did arise, which we all met with Aaron before he left, to kind of go through some things, but a 2-week window is kind of a short window to gather that amount of, knowledge of everything that's ongoing. So if and something happens, it is an on-call agreement, so, basically, if we decided not to use them, this would just no call. It's pretty simplistic,
No, I think it's a great step. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't entering into anything that.
Several discussions with Aaron and countless hours, these guys, it's just the amount of work he was doing in that 2-week, it's just a good idea, like everybody has said, to stay connected. And he's willing to do that to help the city, so we're so fortunate. And again, I certainly would approve, ask him to approve this request.
Yeah, it's very important, but it's a good question, legitimate question on your end, so, but I'm fine with it.
And I'll make a motion that we approve this contract with Engineering Resources Incorporated.
And I'll second that.
Motion to approve along with the second. Anything else, Dustin?
no, thank you.
Scott, you good? Okay. I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. You guys have it. Thank you. And looks like, maybe last but not least, hi, Brian.
It's the benefit of being a W.
I don't think that has anything to do with.
They do alphabetically.
Yeah.
We just want to say that that's the last, that's all.
Yeah.
What are we looking at here, Brian? Thanks.
This is an agreement with Wessler Engineering. We want to put in some, they're called drying beds at the plant. Well, we won't use them for what traditionally drying beds are used for. We're gonna use them to dump our back trucks into them so we can dewater that material better and easier before we haul it to a landfill. Currently, we're using some dewatering boxes and we put these fabric liners in them. We dump our back trucks into them and the water in theory drains out, but the bags plug off and we end up hauling quite a bit of water to the landfill, and that's a per ton charge, so we're trying to reduce that. And this is gonna be using remaining SRF funds from the original plant expansion to do this project, so it's nothing out of our budget per se.
Questions for Brian related to this request?
Well, I appreciate the explanation, because I thought plant drying beds, $69,000, but,
At the plant,
yeah,
not for plants.
that's right.
So is it like sand or, what is it?
So they'll put in under drains, there'll be an under drain system with some gravel on top and then a sand layer. You dump on that, when they get dry, you can go in with the front end loader, scoop that material out. When you hit the sand, you're done, you don't go in.
Like a big kitty litter box.
We have at the old plant, when we did our demolition there, we lost those and we went with these drying boxes. So we've had those since 2012. And they work, they're just a little cumbersome and we end up having to haul quite a bit to the landfill, and sometimes it's pretty wet, sometimes they don't like that.
Well, we trust your wisdom in this, I'm fine with it. I think I'll make a motion then that we approve the purchase as presented for wastewater treatment.
I'll second that.
Motion to
expires in 2033, so I hope before then.
Okay. so
Because,
it's on 33.
and
It
just
goes
an
along
FYI.
with the fund, yeah.
David, the bank, or SRF, or Bank of New York, has invested those funds, so we have over $1 million balance left.
We had like 800,000 left at the end of the project, but through interest we've earned, it's 1.5 or something.
1.6.
6, so
Nice.
we have some other funds that we can use those for projects on. Doesn't even have to be at the plant, I found out. We had a little meeting with a representative from the state, SRF.
Thank you, I was just curious.
Thanks.
Claims, Lynn?
Got two bunches. You got the regular claims at the end of the month. And I hope you've looked them over. And they're probably the two smallest dockets I've seen in a very long time. So it's either really good or really scary. Time will tell.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah. I let them over here. Okay, well, we have reviewed them and we're, gonna make a motion, that we accept the claims dockets as presented.
And I'll second that.
Motion approved, along with a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Any comments from anybody attending? Any comments? Chief?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, we're having a push-in ceremony for our new ladder truck, on January 12th, 5 PM at Station 13 over here on Center Street beside Duncan. So they have a flyer for that. We welcome everybody in the public, so everybody's more than welcome to come and see our new piece of equipment.
It's an incredible apparatus. It's so big it barely fits, and I mean, it's a monster.
So do we need a
big.
street closure for that?
Yeah, no,
They're pushing it in, Diane, not out.
Yeah, there you go. Good. Thanks, Chief. Daddy-daughter dance, Larry, you've been awful, quiet back there. When's that? Do you put you on the spot? When is the?
Tonight, tomorrow.
Tonight and tomorrow. And how many tonight? What did I hear? It was like 100?
Tonight's close to 60,
60. And tomorrow night?
just a little over 100.
100, okay, I got it backwards, but yeah, that's really neat. So tonight and tomorrow night.
Yep.
Yeah. Joe, you've been quiet too. What have you been up to lately?
Look out the window.
You like those beautiful garage door windows? Yeah, Yeah, so appreciate all you are doing along with your staff to keep the roads as safe as possible. So that's where we are.
My first indication that we might get more bad weather than I expected was seeing you pre-treat the roads. And then it's like, oh, I better pay attention.
Anybody? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good day and a safe weekend. Yeah, no, hey, wait, I keep forgetting.